All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the afternoon show presented by ESEN. I'm Chris Gonzalez. Today, I'm joined by Tony Gonzalez and Jay McLovin. How's it going, guys?
Well, I'll tell you, it's going good. Obviously, there's a lot of good news out there. I don't know so much good news for the Cowboys, but I'm sure we'll get into that one in a little bit. Obviously, with Coach Prime now being linked to the Cowboys and what that would mean for them. It's a lot of good stuff going on, Gonzo. Obviously, we got the predictions. I'm sure we're going to get through today, and a lot of good stuff to talk about. How are you guys doing?
Just trying to stay warm.
Yeah, it's colder than hell.
It was minus 10 here with the wind chill last night.
Dang.
I woke up feeling pretty rough today. My whole body was hurting this morning. I ain't done much today. I'm going to try to go work after we get done. But yeah, it's cold out there, and I ain't gonna lie, it kind of sucks. There really ain't no sports on right now until you get to this weekend for football. I know the NBA's on, but I'll be honest,
it's hard to watch.
I haven't watched much NBA at all. I'll watch a Pacer game here and there, and I keep up on the Pacers, and I try to watch some of it. But yeah, it's been hard. It's hard for me to watch it. Just don't keep my attention. All they do is just go down and chuck up threes anymore.
I haven't hardly watched the Indiana Hoosiers, and they've been playing. I know better, but I always missed their games.
I think they lost. Was it last night or the night before? I know Dan Dockich was going nuts. Said that they needed to fire all the players, all the coaches. He said it was an embarrassing performance. Yeah, Dockich was going crazy. He said, I've tried to give this coach a chance, but it ain't have to do. I was rolling. But Dockich, if you're from around here, you probably know who Dan Dockich is. I would even though you ain't from around here, but around here he's a big IU. Well, he coached IU for a while at night, but then he played for IU and he's been in the media around here forever.
Yeah, he was a hard-nosed player, real good. When he won a lockdown Jordan in the NCAA finals when Jordan they played North Carolina. Dockich guarded him and locked him down. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think next week is supposed to get super cold for us, at least by Houston standards, right? I think Monday and Tuesday are 19 and 18, and then after that, it's like in the 20s. But definitely nowhere near close to zero like you guys are at.
The wind chill, it's probably -8, -9.
It was. It's not right now, but it was. Yeah. Next Monday, the high is going to be 0. That's going to be the high.
Man, okay. When your high is 0, that just tells me, God, I'm glad I live in the South.
No shit.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I remember those days living up north and it being like 0
It don't sound like you live far enough south though. If it's going to be 20 degrees.
Yeah, but that only lasts for like a week, Gonzo, and then after that we're back to like 75. I mean,
how often does it get down to 20 degrees?
Not very often.
Maybe, yeah. Usually January and February are your best opportunities to see that kind of weather. But because it was so hot over the summer and all this crazy weather, I don't think it's going to stay very long. I think it'll be a week and then it's done. And we're back in like, the mid 60s, probably for the highs. You said you want to be up here for a week. No. I live vicariously through you guys.
What's the average
snow? I just tell Gonzo to do a FaceTime and go out there and throw a little snow at the camera, so I feel like I'm in it.
Real quick before we jump into the sports, what's the average temperature there this time of year?
I would say about in the mid 50s, probably like 55, 56.
Oh man, that'd be so nice.
That's like midday. Now in the evenings, it'll get down to 30s or 40s.
Still, that's not bad. I can
do it. No, not compared to where you are.
And I think that's changed because I remember going to Texas when I was a kid to Waco, Texas, and of course that's a long, long time ago. Talking about the 60s, 70s, and stuff. Lows back then were 60s. I mean, they didn't get very many. They didn't get very many 30s and 40s, 50s.
Well, is Waco south south of Houston?
It's more central, I believe. It's by Dallas Fort Worth, about an hour from Dallas. I remember Because now
I mean, compared to Houston,
Houston's more south.
Is it? I don't know.
Well, you know what gets
Top of my
Houston
head.
cold, or what it feels like cold, is that it's all the humidity. If we didn't have the humidity and the wind, you wouldn't even notice it. It'd be like, it's not that bad. But the humidity and the wind makes it feel like it's a little worse. Now, it's not going to be comparable to where you guys are, but by Houston standards, that's cold. Like, for example, you know, the 40, what is it? I think today is what? Wednesday. So the low is 41, the high is 55. But then after that, it's like the low is typically in the 30s, high is typically in the 40s, except for Friday. Friday, we have a high of 62. But then come Monday, the highs are like in the 40s, and then the lows are in the 20s. So that just kind of tells you, and that's a little bit of that. But I mean, that's because we have a cold front coming through. Once this cold front gets out of here, man, the highs will be back up to like 60s and 70s, and the lows will be down around the 50s and 40s.
We won't see 70s probably till maybe March.
Maybe
Maybe late March.
More chance April.
Maybe late March. Early April.
Yeah, that's insane to me.
I'm hoping we here in a couple of weeks see some 60s.
We'll be lucky if it's in the 40s in a couple of weeks.
You know, it's funny because Glenn says humidity in the summer will have you feeling like you're in quicksand. You know, there's a guy in my neighborhood. He's a couple of streets over, and in his property, he actually had quicksand. He had to pull on this, but his tractor was right next to where he was at, so he was able to pull on his tractor to get himself out of it. But yeah, you get a little quicksand out here. Come on out here, Tony. We'll show you some quicksand.
I'm good.
I was like, nah, I'm good.
You got a lot of snakes?
Yes, a lot of timber rattlers. A lot of.
It's always something I remembered when I went to Waco when I was little was snakes.
No, there's a lot of snakes out here. Snakes, boars. There's a lot of boar out here and a lot of deer. But there is definitely a lot of snakes. Though.
Only I can't remember. It was Uncle Daniel. It was one of them caught a snake out in the backyard or something while I was there.
Probably Daniel or Isidore.
When I was there with I think Grandma and Grandpa. That's a long man. I was a real little kid. That's something I've always remembered as a snake.
When you went, you was about 3 or 4.
She always had, and she had the whole back porch with a bunch of birds and stuff.
Hey, the crazy thing is swimming pools. A lot of people have swimming pools out here, and they get snakes in their swimming pools. Oh yeah. Go ahead and get in that water if you want to. It's not as warm as you think it is.
All right. Well, I guess we can we'll go ahead and jump into the NFL games because that's the only sport that's really going on right now. You got NBA, but I can't get the NBA till the playoffs. And then plus, I don't know. All you hear about NBA real quick is like we talked about yesterday, is the players whining, wanting out and go to try to get somewhere else. And that just gets old.
Yeah, they're basically pulling a Jimmy Butler.
But the problem is there's always a couple players doing that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they all want to do that. You know, I mean, if I don't like where I'm playing, I'm gonna force my way out. You know, that seems to be the way. And that and super teams. Everybody's trying to make these super teams. You know, Phoenix tried to do it. You saw how that did for Phoenix. You know, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. But not in Houston. In Houston, we build our teams.
Just takes a while.
A long while, Tony.
You guys tried to buy one back in the day with Harden and them.
That's true.
It didn't work out. But.
Yeah, it could have been better.
You guys Houston had Golden State that one year, and then
if Chris Paul didn't go down with that injury, I think we could have taken him. I think
you guys had him that year because you had him on the ropes, and then.
Bro, when Chris Paul went down with injury, I was like, yeah, okay, there goes our leader, right? Because he was our leader. There goes our leader. So then and then of course, you know, if Harden doesn't have somebody keeping him in check, then you get what you get typically. You know, I mean, it's just what it is.
Glenn's on a roll.
when you're building a 50-piece Lego. Dang, Glenn. Okay.
Hey, my Pacers lost last night. Though they did lose to Cleveland last night after beating Cleveland a couple of days before. I think they lost by 10.
Yeah, 127.
I didn't watch a whole lot of it, but I did. I tried to listen to a little bit on the radio, but they had the ball. They also had a Ball State game on the radio around here or here in Muncie. So, all right, Saturday first game you have the Texans and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites.
Of course they are.
At home in this game. Jay, who you going with? Do you think this could be a good game?
You know, it's going to be interesting. I'd like to find out what the weather's looking like in at Arrowhead, because they're not at Dome Stadium, so they're playing out in the open. So that could go against the Texans in that era, because obviously we are in a Dome Stadium. So I think the weather is going to be a huge factor in that game. I think Pacheco, Hunt, in terms of the run game for the Chiefs, I'm not really a big fan of it. I think Pacheco is still kind of coming off that leg injury. So, you know what? I'm going to go against the grain on this. I know everybody's going to say the Chiefs, and rightfully so, because, to beat the best, you got to beat the best. And so they are the 2-time reigning champs. So it's a lot. But I like DeMeco Ryans, and I like this defense, and I like the way we played in the last game. So I'm gonna say the Texans on this one. I know it's gonna be crazy, but I think the Texans are gonna do it. I think CJ Stroud and company. The only thing that's gonna hurt them is gonna be not having Tank Dell. So you're gonna have to rely heavily on Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, probably heavily on Joe Mixon in that run game, right? But I think DeMeco will come up with a good game plan. And then Bobby Slovic, he does pretty good. They did release Johnson, Duante Johnson, or however you say his first name, the wide receiver they brought in. It was actually with Carolina for a while and whatnot, because he just didn't have a good attitude and stuff. So it's going to be interesting, Gonzo. But I'm going to go DeMeco on this one.
Weather in Kansas City on Sunday at game time is going to be 17 degrees with a wind of a wind of about 12 miles an hour.
Oh shoot, man! That might be the X factor for Kansas City. Not that they need one, but that might be an X.
Supposed to be sunny, though. It is supposed to be sunny.
So no snow. They're not calling for snow. Just cold weather.
Yep.
Well, cold weather and windy temps.
Here's a little information. The Chiefs beat the Texans on December 21st, 27-19. The keys in the game for that was time of possession for Kansas City, 34 minutes to Houston's 26. Kansas City also outrushed Houston 124 yards to 84. And Kansas City had no turnovers and Houston had 2. So, I mean, a big thing is no turnovers for Houston, and they're going to have to run the football. If they can't run the football against Kansas City, they're going to be in trouble. I'm going with KC. I don't want to, but I'm going to go with KC.
I don't blame you for going with KC. Like I said, it's a popular pick. I'm going to go. I'm taking this one on the fact that I feel like CJ Stroud and company are finally trying to turn the page a little bit towards the end of the season, because Houston's had an up and down roller coaster season. If you watched them all the way through it, it was up and up and up. But I feel like they finally turned the page. Gonzo, what are you thinking?
The last time these two teams played in the playoffs, the Texans got up 24-0 in the first half, and the Chiefs came back and beat them a few years ago. I'm sure you guys remember that. Mahomes ran down the sideline for a touchdown, but the Texans had got up 24-0 in that game and then fell apart. I like the Texans. I don't know if they're going to have enough to win this game, but I do like the Texans. CJ Stroud, I think, is going to be a good young quarterback. I do think he took a little bit of a step back this year from last year, but I think some of that was due to they had a lot of they lost basically all their wide receivers. They've had a lot of injuries this year. They did get Collins back, didn't they?
Yeah, Collins is back. Okay. Yeah, Collins has been back for probably a couple of months now.
With him back, I think that helps. What worries me about Kansas City a little bit is, for one, they've played, I think, the most one-score games out of any team in the league, and they've just been able to find ways to win them. So it's not like they just blow teams out. They let teams hang around, and when you let a team hang around, one bounce of the ball can change everything. And Kansas City basically has had 2 weeks off because they rested a lot of their guys the last week, and then they had the bye.
Sure
so, I mean, as a Colts fan, how many times do we see Peyton Manning and them guys come in after a bye and just look like the timing was off, at least sometimes for the whole playoff game, but some other times at least the first half. Sometimes we get off to a slow start, and I think you can see the Chiefs maybe get off to a slow start. I think the Chiefs win the game, but I think the Texans cover the spread. I like the Texans at the plus 8.5. If I was going to bet this on the spread, I think this is probably going to be between a 3 and 7 point game, just because that's what Kansas City does. They don't win a lot of games, and Kansas City is one of the worst teams in the league at covering the spread. So I think the Chiefs win the game, but I do like the Texans at the plus 8.5. I think the Texans cover the spread.
I think for Houston to win, I think Mixon's going to be a big key, especially with the weather. With it being a little windy, I think he's going to be a key. And another thing, the last game Houston just played, they got 4 turnovers. I think they got to win the turnover battle against KC. They got to get a couple of turnovers for them to have a real chance. The other thing is they in that last game, I know they lost by 8, but there was a couple of decisions the coach made. I'm not saying they were wrong decisions, but they went for it on 4th down. They didn't get the first down, didn't get the touchdown or whatever, and they gave up points. I think Kansas City, if you get an opportunity to score points, you got to score them. I don't care if they're field goals, you got to score points. So,
yeah, my thing with that is I feel like there's a couple of things I think that are interesting. Number one, Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked like Patrick Mahomes, right? He's got 11 interceptions. That's very uncharacteristic for Patrick. So I'm curious to see if Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter, if they could put the pressure on him and force Patrick Mahomes into bad throws or what have you, then that could be a huge thing. I also think another big guy is that left cornerback in Stingley. Stingley had got a lot of good interceptions the last game, and he's actually been pretty good in the coverage. So I'm looking at the key for Houston. Like you said, Tony, they got to, number one, establish the run. And number two, that defense has got to put pressure on Patrick and force him into bad throws. And number three, if I'm Kansas City, DeAndre Hopkins hasn't got it done on the deep threat. Can Kansas City get Xavier Worthy more involved? Because they haven't really used – Xavier Worthy's been very sporadic, but when he's been on, he's been on. So they're going to have to get – I think they're going to have to get him a lot more involved. And Pacheco is going to have to get them going as well.
All right, yeah, I think it could be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game, like I said, because that's what the Chiefs do. They play close games. There's not. If you're going to bet this game, I love the Texans at the plus 8.5 because it'd be surprising to me if the Chiefs win by more than 8 points.
That's the first game on Saturday. It's
4:30 Saturday. Then
excuse me. But hey, was Jeff Okudah? Was he a Detroit Lion at one point?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. For some reason, I keep thinking that last name sounds familiar to me, though. But never mind. What's next game, Gonzo?
Next game Saturday night, you have the Washington Commanders at the Detroit Lions, and the Lions are 9.5 point favorites in this game. So some big spreads for the Saturday game.
Man, you're not lying.
Both home teams are big favorites.
These two didn't play in the regular season. I think Washington, to have a chance, has to get off to a fast start. They got to get off to a good start, fast start. If not, Detroit will blow them out. So I'm going with Detroit.
Obviously, Detroit's heavily favored in this game too. I agree with you, man. Jaden Daniels. This is going to be the first big test, a really big test, right? I mean, I'm not talking about regular season. I mean, now we're in playoffs, and you're going up against probably one of the best teams in the league. It's a huge test for them. And I tell you, if they come away with the victory on this game, that's going to put Jaden Daniels, in my mind, in a whole nother stratosphere, right? I mean, he's going to take a huge leap for me if he gets the win in this game.
Oh no, No, I agree with you on that. Jaden Daniels has played good, and he's played good in clutch moments. That's the thing
Yes.
about him. He's if you watch him this season, he really plays better in the fourth quarter than what he has most of the game. Washington will do nothing for like 3 quarters, it seems like, and then they'll still be hanging around, and then he gets the ball with like 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden you can't stop him. But I think Detroit wins this game. I think the only way Washington can win this game is their defense is going to have to create some turnovers. I think Washington had to get a couple turnovers and turn the turnovers into points to be able to win this game. I don't see Washington's defense slowing up that Detroit Lions offense enough. I think the Lions are going to score probably 30 points, and I don't know if Washington's going to be able to keep up with the pressure that I know what Detroit has basically lost their whole defense to injuries. They had 13 guys on IR off their defense at one point. But even with that, Aaron Glenn has had that defense playing pretty good all year. And if they bring pressure like they did the other night against the Vikings, if they can get that kind of pass rush against Washington, it could be a long night for the Commanders.
Let me ask you this: let's say that Daniels can handle the pressure. If he can get through the pressure, Detroit is their backfield and defense is hurting. Do you think they can make this a shootout? Because I think that's the only way they beat them. They're not going to shut down Detroit's defense. They're going to have to score 35, 38, 40 points to beat Detroit. I think Washington. Do you think Washington could do that? If Daniels can handle the initial pressure of them rushing, coming after him, do you think they can make this a shootout and have a shot to win this?
I think that'd be I think that's their only chance, but I don't think that Washington's offensive line is going to be able to hold up enough for Daniels to consistently be able to get the ball down the field.
I think the other key
he'll be able to, he can scramble some, but that's, you get those plays a few times a game where I just think their offensive line is going to make it tough for the receivers to have time to get down the field.
I think the big key for Washington is to slow down Detroit's running game. And even though they got a good quarterback, you want to put the pressure on him and make him throw the ball as much as possible. Because if they get that good mix going, their offense is hard to stop once they get that running and passing both going.
And didn't Detroit get Montgomery coming back?
I think possibly.
Yeah. I saw on ESPN that they were talking about him should be ready for the game. So he should be able to make his comeback in this game. So I would not be surprised. I still think they land heavily towards Jahmyr Gibbs, though. I can't imagine them not running Jahmyr Gibbs a lot, considering the season that he's had, right? I mean, the guy's been lights out.
Well, even when Montgomery was there, they was pretty balanced on the way they used them. Now, when Montgomery got hurt, of course, Gibbs got more. But when they were both there, they were starting to get where they were pretty balanced because of how good, like you said, Gibbs has been running the ball. Gibbs is.
My thing with that though too is in Washington, McLaurin is kind of your guy, right? But outside of McLaurin, they don't have as many weapons as what Detroit has.
You know where Scary Terry's from?
Huh?
You know where Scary Terry McLaurin's from?
I'm going to take a chance just because since you're testing me. I'm going to say somewhere in Indiana,
Indianapolis, Indiana.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Gonzo. You kind of set me up for the right answer on that.
I know I did, but he went to high school in Indianapolis, and
it was nice.
For some reason, I want to say Cathedral, but
you probably Cathedral. I think you're right.
But I'll tell you, like
he says he likes Detroit minus 9.5.
Yeah,
I think so too. I just don't think. I mean,
I do too. If I was going on the spread, I would go 9.5. I'd take Detroit 9.5 as well. The other, the other game, I like the underdog to cover. But in this game, I don't. Detroit, I think they're so good at they can run the score up.
But I think you hit the nail on the head though. On one reason why they might not cover is because of the injuries on the defense. They still have a lot of injuries on that defense. That defense that could be and also, Washington is riding a really nice momentum wave right now.
They just won their first playoff game in I think 19 years.
And plus nobody expected for Washington to be this good this year. Nobody.
Oh no. I agree with that. But for me, the key on that defense is going to be Bobby Wagner. He's a huge leader on that defense, and I just want to see if he can get that team going on the defensive side of the ball. And if he can get that going on the defensive side of the ball, because Jared Goff has 12 interceptions. I think Jaden has like 9. So Jaden Daniels has actually played better than Goff has. But
I wouldn't say Daniels has had a better season than Goff.
You don't think so?
Oh.
I mean, I'll give you this.
I understand Daniels has less interceptions, but you also have to remember Goff had that one bad game where he threw 5 interceptions in one game, and they still won the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, and think about that. If you got 5 turnovers and you're still winning the game, I mean, I don't know who they went up against, but that's a hell of a turnaround or a hell of a game to win. That means I guess the defense must have been really doing their job in that game.
Yeah, that was crazy. I got one question for you, Jay, before we move on to the next game.
Yeah.
Seeing what the Commanders have done this year, does it make you mad that Dallas didn't hire Dan Quinn as their head coach?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Because everybody loved Quinn in Dallas when he was there as the defensive coordinator. All the players, everybody loved him.
The only problem I had with Dan Quinn was when we played in the playoffs. I think it was that Green Bay game where it was like you couldn't find a defensive back. I don't know where they're going. If they were hanging on the sideline or what, but there were so many open catches. It made me wondering what's going on with the play calling of Dallas, which obviously fell under Dan Quinn. But if you take that one game out of the equation, the guys played really, really well. And obviously he took Atlanta to the Super Bowl. But the only thing that kind of made me – I still kind of question Dan Quinn a little bit is when you went in that second half against Tom Brady, you took the pressure off of Brady and you allowed Brady to pick you apart and come back on a 28-3 ultimately to win the game. So Dan Quinn's defenses look good for the most part, but they do have some breakdowns in the key moments. That's the only thing that kind of worries me about Dan Quinn. But I'll tell you this. I mean, I would rather have Dan Quinn than Mike McCarthy, and I wish they would have moved on from Mike McCarthy a while back. And like you said, offer Dan Quinn the job. I'd have been totally fine with that. Honestly, I really would. I've been great with that.
Well, going into this season, everybody would have said on paper Dallas had a lot better team than Washington.
For sure. But I will say this, though. We have had a lot of injuries, though, Tony, this year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And I'm not trying to make –
you lost your quarterback half the season. I mean, on most teams, you lose your you lose your quarterback, you're in trouble. I mean, very few teams have a really, really good backup quarterback. Well, maybe 1 or 2.
But it wasn't even just that. Look who else we lost. We lost.
Yeah, that's why I think it was stupid to fire McCarthy. Look at what they've done the second half of the season with Cooper Rush as quarterback. They were playing pretty good football. They were winning some games. The players hadn't quit on McCarthy. The players were standing behind McCarthy and kept playing. Look at CeeDee Lamb. He was hurt. It was playing in games that didn't matter. Yeah. A lot of them players kept playing for McCarthy. That's why it really surprised me that they decided to move on.
Well, if I quote Michael Parsons correctly, he was devastated, quote unquote. Yeah. He was devastated when Mike McCarthy wasn't going to be back the next year. So, yeah, for them to say that Mike McCarthy didn't have the locker room, clearly that's not the truth.
Yeah, and plus right now, just with the names that they're talking about, the names that Dallas is talking about, I don't see where there's an upgrade. I mean, names right now. I don't mean the list can't change. There could be other names added to the list. But the names.
Look, even Troy Aikman said that the Dallas job isn't the most coveted job to take over. Why? Because you got bad cap space. You got to deal with Jerry Jones, and then it's just there's a lot of things that just doesn't make that job so attractive, right?
I mean, Jones is the biggest thing because I think they've got some good skill players. I mean, I think they need to get better at the running back position. They've got a good receiver. They've got a decent quarterback. I'm not saying a superstar quarterback. They may overpaid, but he's a decent quarterback at least.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, though.
He's decent. I think he's.
Would you rather have him or what we got? I'll take Prescott. Sorry.
Yeah.
He throw more. He throw more than 50%.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh, he's not terrible. No, Dak's not terrible. He's not. I don't think he's an A quarterback. I think he's a B quarterback.
You know what's crazy? I just seen a stat,
but what I consider a quarterback is like Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen.
Yeah, true.
I have Dak at that. I have Dak down at he's not at that level. But there ain't a whole lot of guys that are at that level either. So
I'm going to go off the subject for just 1 second because I seen a stat yesterday and I was shocked. The Indianapolis Colts had 3 receivers on their team that had over 800 yards receiving. 3 receivers, and they was not a very good passing team. Well, it's just kind of crazy that they had 3 receivers with over 800 yards.
We had one of our receivers had the highest.
We had a lot of deep throws.
Yeah,
a lot of deep balls.
Our one receiver, Pierce, had the highest average yards per catch. It was like 27, 28 yards a catch is what he was averaging.
Jeez.
Yeah. But we threw a lot of deep balls, but we couldn't complete a 10-yard pass, but we could complete a 40-yard pass.
Ain't that something? Well, that means your slot guys were being doubled up, and they were leaving your wide out or your deep ball.
Our quarterback have guys wide open for 10 yards. You just couldn't hit them. He could throw a jump ball for a jump ball, and we go get it for 40 yards, but he couldn't hit the 10-yard pass.
Oh, ain't that something crazy?
Chris,
ain't that something crazy?
I'm not lying.
Pretty much.
Hey, Mike, you have an invite every time you want, man. But dang, you ain't asked for no invites, man. I asked you to come on, but you're a hard man to get booked.
He's a busy man.
Yeah, Mike's always busy.
I'm about to say, Mike. Hey,
Mike's doing his thing down or up there in Chicago.
Oh yeah, he is, man. Kicking ass.
I mean, hey, when you're the shy kid, it's hard to book the shy kid now.
Next game. This game's gonna be interesting because I want to see what you guys think. This will be the first game on Sunday. Rams at the Eagles. Eagles are 6.5-point favorites in this game.
Jeez, that's gonna be a good game right there. I'll tell you what. Hey, I'll tell you what. If the Rams come out and play like they did against the Vikings, and if Philadelphia comes out and plays like they did against Green Bay, I'm taking the Rams all day.
Okay, guys, some information here real quick. The Eagles beat the Rams 37-20 on November 24th. The big key there was the Eagles rushed for 314 yards. Time of possession was 34 minutes to 26 minutes. Barkley had 255 yards rushing and two touchdowns. So right there, it tells you the Rams have to shut down the Eagles' run. If they don't shut down the run or control it, they're not going to have a chance at all.
Yeah, I like the Rams. I actually like the Rams to win this game, even though they're 6.5-point underdogs. And a lot of it's the Rams' defense. If you go back over their last 4 games, if you take out the last regular season game where they played Garoppolo and didn't play all their starters, and where they didn't play, you take out that game but the other their last 4 games besides that one, their defenses only gave up 9 points each game. Sure. Other than that last game, week 18, when they didn't play their starters, but the 3 games before that and their first playoff game, they've only gave up 9 points each game. That defense has been playing at a high level over the last month. And then you get Nakua healthy. Kupp didn't do much in that first playoff game, but he stayed healthy, which is a big thing for him. Matt Stafford's been playing at a high level. And then you just look at the Eagles that wasn't very impressive in that first playoff game. But like if you look through the year, they've won a lot of games, but if you watch them, it seems like they're up and down, inconsistent. I just think the Rams are going to come in and I think the Rams are going to win this game. And I'll tell you what, whoever wins the other NFC game is not going to want to see the Rams in that NFC Championship game if the Rams can beat the Eagles team. Because, like I said, Rams are, to me, they've gotten hot at the right time.
Do you think they can shut Barkley down? Enough. That's the key.
I think they're going to, but yeah, I mean that's going to be the key. Yeah, they can't let Barkley run wild on them.
Hey, Mike, I just sent you the link, so I'm not playing. You want to come on in here and get some of this heat? Come on in. No, I'm just kidding. No heat. But you want to come in and hang out, man. Shoot the shit. You can. I like to get your perspective on some of this. But with that being said, look, Kyron Williams had a good game. I thought Kyron Williams really did well running the ball. I thought they put him in a couple of short yardage situations, and he did well. Puka Nacua, I'm curious to see, make sure he's healthy. But I thought Puka Nacua did well. I thought Cooper Kupp, even though a couple of balls he caught was well. I mean, I thought that team did really well. But what surprised me the most was that defense. That defense for the Rams was on point. I mean, they just killed them. They killed Darnold. What, they had like 9 sacks, Gonzo, if I'm not mistaken? 9 sacks, I believe.
Yeah, 9 sacks.
I mean, 9 sacks, an interception. They got a fumble recovery. And look, here's the thing too. With Philadelphia, they didn't look good against a hobbled Green Bay team. I mean, Green Bay came into that game hobbled. I mean, hell, like right now, Jordan Love just got feeling back in his hands. So, my thing is if you're gonna play a hobbled team like that, what are you gonna do against a team that's physical and hitting on all cylinders? How are you gonna play up against that? Because I'm a very big believer in momentum. And I think right now, that the Rams have more momentum.
Guys, you guys got me thinking now. I was going to come here and pick the Eagles. Now you guys are making an argument. I'm going to go with the Eagles, but I don't think they cover the point spread. I think it's going to be a 3-point game.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. I hope there's a little bit more of that book.
I do agree with you on that. I think either way. I think if the Rams lose this game, they're going to they'll cover the spread. What was it, 6.5?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a one possession game. But I think the Rams are playing their best football at the right time.
Hey, I'm writing this down. Hey, so
but we're sitting here saying that they got to shut down Barkley is basically what they got to do. But that's a lot easier said than
2,000 yards
than done.
Hold on. So I'm writing this down because I want to make sure I have a reflection of what we're picking. So on the Texans game, I took the Texans, and you guys both took the Chiefs, correct?
I took the Chiefs, yep.
And Gonzo, did you pick the Texans or the Chiefs?
I took the Chiefs.
Spread. We're just doing straight up.
I took the Chiefs to win. I took the Texans on the spread.
I got you. Okay, I got you. And then all right. So in yours, I'll put Texans on spread. All right. So then we got the next one, which was the game we just talked about, Eagles and Rams. I'm taking the Rams, and you took who, Tony?
I took Philly.
You took Philly. Okay. And Gonzo, who you taking?
Rams.
All right. So
what about Detroit? We all take Detroit?
That's right. The Detroit game. I'm taking Detroit. No, excuse me. Detroit's playing who again? I'm sorry. My brain is like
Washington.
You
took Washington in the point. But
I'm going to go Washington on that.
No, I was taking Detroit. I said Detroit, not the.
You think Detroit will cover this?
Yeah.
All right. So you got Detroit, Gonzo, and Chris. I know you took Detroit too as well, right?
Yep.
All right. We're caught up now. All right. Cool. And then, because we just did the Philly and Green. Okay. Yeah, we're caught up. All right. Okay. I just want to make sure I got a record just to see who comes out with the most wins on this one.
And then the last NFL game of the weekend. Well, wait a minute. Do you guys have anything else on the Rams and Eagles before we move?
No. I think we covered both. The only thing I'm concerned about the Eagles is, number one, how is that culture going to look like in the locker room? I still think they have cultural issues in that offense. I'm not 100% bought in on all of that. And I think that was kind of sought. I think a little bit of that was kind of sparked, maybe by the reporters, focusing on A.J. Brown reading the book.
I knew you was going to bring up the book.
Hey,
no, I'm just saying. But again, they squashed it, right? Hurts said, he's reading a book. Who cares? And Sirianni said, hey, he's reading a book. Who cares? As long as we're winning, leave him alone. That's what he does. So. Yeah, that should be interesting. By the way, Mike Hughes, I sent you the link. I guess you
don't sleep on
showing up.
Kono Tree says, don't sleep on Washington.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I have a feeling for them guys this year.
Well, Saturday night, we got the Ravens and Buffalo, right?
Yeah, that's probably
Ravens and Buffalo.
could be the game,
Ooh.
probably the game of the weekend, at least just on paper. The Bills are underdogs at home, which I think is very
Crazy.
disrespectful. But the Ravens are 1.5 point favorites in this game.
Let me give you a little backstory on this. The Ravens and Buffalo played on September 29th. The Ravens beat Buffalo 35-10, had 427 yards total offense to Buffalo's 236. They had 271 yards rushing. Henry had 199 yards rushing and 2 TDs. Of course, that was at Baltimore, if I remember correctly, though, not at Buffalo. And Buffalo, the high I think is going to be 8 degrees with a possible of some snow. I don't think a heavy snow, but possibility of some snow. So, man, that makes it tough. I think the Ravens is as good as team left in the playoffs, but I question their defense. Their defense is not always on.
And without further ado,
there he is. Talk about trouble.
Is that Pops?
That's Pops.
Oh man. If someone was stealing all our money and spending it on strippers, it'd feel like ASAP in here, man.
Oh, Lord.
Man.
Hey,
Oh,
then you gotta bring the porn sites. Oh yeah, I guess this is where the strippers comes in.
I already got
never
those
mind.
up. Don't worry about it.
All right, Mike. Now I'm gonna write yours down too.
So,
KC game. Who you taking? KC or Texans?
KC. I'll never bet against Patrick Mahomes again in a day of my life. Ever.
let me ask you this though: Let me ask you this, Mike. Would you take Texans on the spread?
Oh, what's it looking like right now, Gonzo? What's it looking like?
It is 8.5.
Because you know I'm half Irish, so when I see
It's 8.5.
like
Kansas City's the worst team in the league at covering the spread.
Yeah.
And they play a lot of one possession games.
I could get down with that. I think
the Chiefs win.
Yeah,
I think Texans cover.
I could get down with that. I think 8.5 is not bad at all.
I know Mike's a gambler, man. He gets on that.
I got Mike down KC straight up.
Oh,
for
you want to
Texans
know?
to cover.
You know something crazy? FanDuel doesn't think I'm real. I have to use DraftKings or ESPN bets. FanDuel says my birth certificate is fake, so I don't know.
I believe it.
I swear to God. I swear to God.
There's always been a little controversy around you, so I kind of believe that.
It's always. I swear to God, bro. It's a weird because like FanDuel and like Gonzo told me about FanDuel. Like he was the one that made me want to do it, and I was like, man, they got like the best deals. They got every single player, even if it's a nobody. Like Mac McClung is in FanDuel. Like you could pick any player you want. And then I tried to do it, and they were like, "Nah, you don't exist." And I was on the phone for hours, and the guy was like, "I don't know, bro. You must be illegal." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, I don't know. It was weird stuff."
All right, next game, Philly and Green Bay. I'm not Philly and Green Bay. Philly and
Rams.
Thank you, Philly and Rams. Who are you taking?
I'm gonna take the Rams.
There we go.
A lot of people on the Rams.
Yeah, I have no reason behind that. I just fuck Philly, so I'm with LA.
And then you got Detroit, Washington. Who you taking?
Because I'm watching Jaden Daniels do what he does, and I have Caleb Williams, I am going to go Detroit because I do not want to see Jaden Daniels win 2 playoff games at all.
Ooh, I got a sidebar on that one after we do the last game. Mike, I'm going to come back to you about the Jaden Daniels. I do have a question for you on that, but we'll come back to that one. And then now I guess that brings us up to the current game, which we're talking about, which is Ravens and who the Ravens playing, guys? Buffalo.
Bills.
I'm taking Buffalo on that one. I feel like this is Josh Allen's year. I know it's the Ravens, and I know how good the Ravens are and how chasing shadows with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. But I'm taking Buffalo. I just feel something in them this year. Mike, to share the guest, who are you taking?
I'm gonna take the Ravens. I think it's about that time. I think listen, bro. Lamar Jackson has more passing touchdowns than Josh Allen had total touchdowns. I don't even think it's a conversation to me. Lamar Jackson's the MVP. They already beat
Yeah.
him once this year,
agree.
and that was without an entire secondary. So, like, the fact that they went from one of the worst defenses at the jump of the year to a top
Yeah.
10 defense, like, what are we talking about? So, I definitely think, you know, and on top of that, not trying to just crap on Josh Allen, like, you do have 2 rookie wide receivers and Amari Cooper. So, it's like, are they going to be as battle tested as the other side of things with maybe a Zay Flowers who said it's a toss up on what'll happen? But if anything, and Derrick Henry to the crib. That's all you got to do. Whole game, run it.
And that's what I thought. I felt like they should be running that ball between those two guys. Like I said, they were chasing shadows in the last game, and the defense was on those two guys. So I felt like that's a huge factor. But Zay Flowers, do we know if is he actually playing in this game? Because he didn't
like
play
a-
last one.
They said this morning. They said it was a toss up. It's
Yeah.
like it's yeah.
Once I heard it was a game, it's going to basically be a game time decision.
I would say no
Okay.
though. Is that would be my. I would give him another week and then see what happens. But you know, like fourth quarter, if y'all getting dog walked, maybe just throw Zay in there. Fuck it. You know? Like, maybe just say, hey, you know what? I'm feeling better. Like
I think Flowers if he don't play, it could be a big deal though, because that's
Yeah.
one of the weaknesses of Buffalo would be hitting that deep ball down the field, and that's what Zay Flowers helps bring to the table for
Oh,
Baltimore.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like I feel like every year, you know, we've done this with each other every single year. Around this time, it's like, oh, Mark Andrews isn't healthy, Odell isn't healthy. Like every time playoffs come, Lamar loses like his number one weapon. So I kind of feel bad for him, but I hope he gets a shot to play.
I think likely could be an X factor in that game if Flowers doesn't play because you can line that guy up on the wing and let him have it. Tony Gonzo, who y'all taking, brothers?
I'm going with Baltimore.
Okay.
Mhm.
I kind of agree. I think the game's kind of a toss up, but I think with the running back situation with Baltimore, I think they got the better running back, so I'm gonna go with Baltimore.
Gonzo?
Man, it's a tough one because I saw what happened the first game, but I'm gonna go with Buffalo here, basically because it's at home. It's going to be it's going to be cold there. We're going to be in the 20s, with not counting the wind chill. And Lamar has not always played the best when it's freezing cold. But I think it's going to be a real close game, 3-point game. I think it's probably going to come down to whoever has the ball last. One thing that does worry me about Buffalo is what Mike mentioned is they don't have the best weapons on the outside. So I think you're going to see a lot of Josh Allen running the ball like you did last game. And so I think it's going to be a shootout and whoever has the ball last. But I'm going to go with Buffalo to pull it out basically just because they're the home team.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, I know, Mike. I know you got Jackson as your MVP, but I tell you, man, Josh Allen, the season he's had this year, I do think Lamar Allen with the MVP, but I think that Josh Allen is a close runner-up to that.
Yeah, I think he's listen. If he's definitely number 2, and I'd be very biased if I didn't say that. But I also think if Joe Burrow just won a couple more games, he would be number 2. I just like if you look at the numbers and like compare them to each other. What was it? 26 passing touchdowns from Josh Allen. I understand you got a couple rookies, but like Lamar had 40, and this is the guy that we're calling a running back. You know, so like who's really the running back at
He had a
that
better
point?
year this year than he had last year, and he won the MVP last year.
The 3-time MVP Lamar Jackson. That's what we call it over here. But yeah, I got Lamar, and then like the Barkley stuff, man, get out of here, bro. You don't even want to play in the last game. You want to talk about you the MVP? Get the hell. You better put. Hey, you swear to God, you better win the Super Bowl, bro. Because if you didn't break that record and you just first round exit, oh, bro, I'm sick. You gonna hate to see the TikToks I make if TikTok's still alive. I have no idea.
I don't think it's gonna be allowed.
I think TikTok's dying out, man.
Yeah,
We got to go over to Instagram and have your battle on Instagram.
It was
But
a nice
Mike,
run.
I said I had a question for you after we did our predictions, and here's my question: if Chicago had to do the draft all over, yeah, Byers remorse taking Caleb Williams and not going with Jaden Daniels.
No, I don't. I think right now, like for me, and I said it, like I'll never backtrack on things I've said. I told Gonzo this from day one in our group chat. Like, I thought when we still had Fields, the best quarterback out of this draft class immediately was going to be Jaden, because he came from LSU, and it's a prestigious school that just had Burrow and Jettas and Chase. And he obviously had guys like Thomas Brown Jr., who are arguably one of the best rookies in the entire class, next to McConkey. And it's like, and then Malik Neighbors. I can't snub Malik Neighbors either. So I think he was a lot more ready for the NFL. I also think, when you get to keep your head coach and your offensive coordinator and you're not sacked 68 times, I think it helps just a little bit. So Caleb kind of got, it started the offseason with Hard Knocks talking about how this is the greatest situation any quarterback's ever gone into at number one. And it immediately turned into one of the worst situations. So I think the bright lights of HBO Max, or just Max, I don't know what they want to be called. I don't know their pronouns. But I just think, like, sometimes we ignore a lot of signs, and I think we ignored that line was shit. So I'm still big on Caleb, man. I think what I saw from him pretty much was the same thing we saw in the Pac-12. I didn't really see him get better, whereas Jaden, I've seen Jaden get better time and time again. And he kind of had like a little up and down in the middle of the year, but Caleb was very consistent from beginning to end, not turning over the ball, definitely holding on to it too long, throwing the deep ball. Like, those were all things I already knew about Caleb. So if he can get better, and maybe I'm not even going to talk about the 35 people we just interviewed, but I think if you can get the right guy in there, I think it'll kind of be like, an every other year thing. 1 year I think it'll be Jaden, 1 year I think it'll be Caleb, and Bo Nix really impressed the hell out of me too. So like maybe he's even in the mix of like, I think we're going to be talking about this draft class of quarterbacks for like 10 years on who the better one was.
I agree. Now, you guys have had some interest. Obviously, McCarthy is coming to your head coach. How do you feel about that?
Get the fuck out of here.
What would you do? What would Mike Hughes do if they brought in Mike McCarthy as a head coach? What would Mike do?
I'm one losing. If they bring in Mike McCarthy and we don't make the playoffs in 25, I seriously consider just picking a new team. Maybe not a new team, but like a player to follow. Like, hey man, I'm a Lamar Jackson fan now. Like, because dude, like, what are we talking about? Jay, damn well. And the fact that Zeke jersey is still up is killing me right now. But like,
that's the only one I have. I got a Troy Aikman jersey on the way.
It's better. Yeah, I can rock.
On the way.
I can rock with that. But like, it's just like, well, you didn't do shit in Dallas, and you were riding off Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams' coattails for years. And yeah, you went to a Super Bowl. That's cool. I'm not gonna sit here and say that he's less qualified than Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson's never even been a head coach. But like, I grew up hating that fat fuck. You think I'm throwing him in a Bears hat? Get out of here. That's like Aaron Rodgers saying he wants to play for the Bears next year.
Hey, all I know is if you guys do bring in Mike McCarthy,
I'm sick.
Just embrace the
suck. How great that would be if the Bears had Mike McCarthy, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Rodgers.
I'd be sick to my stomach, brother. I'd be so sick. I'd throw up. It's like Joey Votto in a Blue Jays uniform.
I'm not gonna lie. That's how I felt when they were talking about Brady might come to the Colts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's going to help the Colts because it's Brady, but I don't want Brady playing on the Colts.
Yeah, like
I can't root for him.
Yeah, I'm okay.
It'd have been hard. It'd have been hard to root for him because for years he's what kept us from winning Super Bowls when we had faith.
Exactly. So you get like, that's like Aaron Rodgers coming to Chicago. Like, nah, bro, you own us. I'm never gonna say you don't. But you ain't gonna wear that Bears C. I'll be damned.
If you want Rodgers, you want Rodgers from 10 years ago. You don't want this old Rodgers.
But I think I could say the same thing about McCarthy. Like, I would take McCarthy 10 years ago, but like, what is Jay? You would know better than me. How many playoff wins has he had as the head coach in Dallas? That's been what, one, and that was when 20.
I don't even remember the year, man.
Yeah, it was early though. It was early on. So
yeah, it was. I think it was. Well, his first year he had a losing season. I think it was the second year. That second year he went. That was his first 12-5. So I want to say it was that second season that he got that one play. So like, it was a wild card win. I mean, it wasn't
talking about. What are we talking about then? You know what I mean? Like, it's a what have you done for me lately league. Yeah. And Mike McCarthy, same as, and I'm gonna stay consistent too. Like, I don't want Pete Carroll either. I don't know what a 73-year-old white guy is gonna teach.
But he's got a lot of energy though.
He's got a lot of, but like, I'm gonna say this in the nicest way possible.
Or something, man.
Like, you're gonna have a lot of energy until you don't. You know what I mean? Once you hit 77, 78. Like, we're talking, like, Caleb was on the 33rd pod today with the St. Brown brothers, and he was like, I want a guy who's going to be here for the next 17 to 20 years of my career. That's the perfect situation. Respectfully, like, Pete, are you even gonna be here in 17 years? Like,
he'll be under the dirt somewhere.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? We're gonna have 6 points or 6 feet. Like, it's just that's really my issue right now. So I'll go the younger guy route. I'm on Ben Johnson, and I don't believe.
You better go get a Ben Johnson. He'll be around for that long.
So you're wanting an offensive minded guy.
I mean, dude, my whole life it's been nothing but defense, and it's brought me nothing but pain.
The candidate I really like as a head coach is Aaron Glenn.
I like Aaron Glenn. I like Aaron Glenn a lot. But, like, for me, like, from my perspective, right, especially with Caleb being so young, it's like I remember Jay Cutler had 6 offensive coordinators in 8 seasons with Lovie Smith. And it was like, everybody, including myself, to this day, we love Lovie. And it'll never be like, I mean, man, if we're looking just to be relevant again, why'd you ever get rid of Lovie? Because
they should never fired Lovie.
Right. Fired him on a 10-win season. You know what I would do for a 10-win season right now? But, it's just like that revolving door of offensive coordinators that would come with Aaron Glenn. Like Dan Campbell, I'm going to be honest. Like, and Jay, you can clip this and put this wherever you want it, but I'm gonna go out there and say that Dan Campbell regresses very heavily once Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn leave, and I think that's something for me that, I think he's a huge culture guy, but he was also blessed to have a guy like Ben Johnson. So once you have to start paying guys more, once you start having to, Amon-Ra wants another extension after only 2 seasons, and then I have to pay all these offensive linemen and Aiden Hutchinson's deal coming up, and it's like, at some point, you're going to, this Cinderella story is going to turn into, hey, man, what can you bring for us other than a great speech and that fat-ass nose? But, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that, though, because, if he does those coordinators, look, I remember when Belichick lost Josh McDaniels. He wasn't the same Belichick. I mean, he obviously recessed a little bit. So if Belichick had receded back a little bit, not having this Josh McDaniels as his coordinator, then certainly Dan Campbell would as well, because a lot of times I think it was who was it said, it may have been a Philly sports guy, but said it. But those guys are like, if you're the head coach, you're just there to make sure, okay, is he doing his job? Is he doing his job? Look, dude, this is your quarter. You do what you do. You do what you do, and I'm just here to facilitate that you guys are doing your job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I always say that, you always surround yourself with smart people. You don't have to be the smartest head coach in the world. You just got to be a good evaluation of talent for coordinators. Say, okay, yeah, this guy is the right guy for this system, or this guy. So you just got to be able. You just got to be a good manager,
sure.
a good relationship manager. So
sure.
Yeah,
and Jay, you said, this ain't my show, but I haven't talked to Gonzo and Pops in a while. We talking about managers. Is Sam Darnold the choke god manager of the year? Is he going to be an Indianapolis Colt next year? What are we doing?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I hope.
I mean,
I hope not. But I actually told my cousin last night. We actually had this conversation last night, and I told him I could see the Colts doing that because what they've been reported is they're wanting to bring in somebody to compete with Richardson.
Ooh.
And I think it's going to depend on what kind of money Darnold's looking for.
But aren't you? I mean, and I was never sold on Richardson, but are you pretty much killing Richardson's chances? I mean, to a certain degree, if you do that.
I don't think so, and here's why. I think you need to find out if he has any heart. Because
I don't think he has any heart. That's already been answered.
That's what I question right now is his heart. So I think you need a competition so you can see, hey, is he going to compete or is he just going to fold?
Yeah, that heart. I think that heart is gone. When he told me he got tired, I was like, "Yeah, you're done."
Hey, I think the kids should have been a running back, and a good running back at that.
Hey, you better be careful. You're gonna get canceled like Bill Foley got canceled. You can't be telling people they need to be running back.
I think he should have been a running back.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's into Pops's point. Like if it's like I remember Mitch Trubisky, they were like, "Yeah, here's Nick Foles," and it was a relatively cheap deal, but like it was one of those contracts where it's like. They don't want him to just sit on the bench. They want him to compete. They want him to be a part of this. So it's like for Sam Darnold, we got, Dan Orlovsky advocating for him to make $150 to $200 million on this extension. And it's like, if he gets 200 or 100 to 200 mil from the Colts, he ain't sitting on the bench. And if I'm Anthony Richardson, I'm like, I just lost my job. Like, that's how I would feel.
Oh, hell
like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like Russ. It's like if Russ gets extended, like Fields knows he's done. Like, they're not going to hold on to him. And it's a weird thing.
Yeah, and if I'm Fields, I wouldn't want them to hold on to me because you're basically stunting my ability to find another opportunity, if it's out there. So yeah, I mean, everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to be on the field, especially if you're a winner. What Jimmy McGinty say? Winners always want the ball.
I'm just hoping they don't bring in a guy like Daniel Jones or something like that. The reason I say that is because they'll be able to get him cheaper than what they're going to get a Darnold or whatever. And they're going to bring Daniel Jones in as a guy that's going to be our competition with Richardson, which means Richardson's going to be our starter, and then he's going to get hurt. And then instead of having Joe Flacco as our starter, we're going to have Daniel Jones as our starter.
No, I hear you.
That's what I see the Colts do, is getting somebody like that, which I hope not.
Not for sure.
We got to figure something out. I think we should have got. I was all on board on getting rid of the GM, the head coach.
I agree. 100%.
I think it's our culture. I think we got to get a culture built. I mean, if you look ever since Andrew Luck's retired, we've been shit.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Mike. Since we're talking coaches and where they're going to go, this, that, and the other. I already talked to Gonzo about this, but I'm curious to see how you feel about it. Primetime, Dallas, good match or not a good match?
No, it's a respect thing. I think he takes that conversation with Jerry just because he respects Jerry. I think Prime understands he's not moving for anybody. Like, his standard is his standard, and that's what it is. The way I coach is the way I coach. I think that's kind of the way he goes about it. When you bring in Prime, you're kind of changing your organization. That's the way I see it. Like, it's Prime's organization. Like, Prime runs this entire thing. And Jerry's not going to do that. Jerry's still taking phone calls on a Monday morning with some random ass radio show in Dallas. So, like, I'm not with it whatsoever. I think it would be great. Like, hypothetically speaking, if Jerry just stayed out the way, I think it would be a really great move. And I think a lot of the people, CeeDee Lambs, the Dak Prescotts, would probably geek over the opportunity to be coached by Primetime. But for what he's doing, I think, one, in a respectful way, I don't think he's done enough in college to just be the head coach in the NFL quite yet. I mean, if we're gonna be honest, like, what did the Colorado Buffaloes or whatever the fuck they are, what have they done?
They were fourth in the Big 12.
Yeah, and that's the Big 12. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? Like, you go to the Big 10 or somewhere else, and it's a completely different conversation. So it's like, I think it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. He's done a lot. For so many different organizations throughout his life as a coach and as a player. I think his time in the NFL is coming. But I think that would probably line up more with wherever Shedeur went. I think that's kind of where a little bit of nepotism, but Shedeur is also a baller. He's better than Bronny James, so I'm not too mad about it.
I saw on Facebook the other day a guy proposed Dak Prescott could be traded. I guess who's got the number one? Titans. Yeah. Trade Dak Prescott to the Titans, and then and then you get the Titans number one. And then you get their you get their third round pick and their fourth round pick.
Yeah, the Titans aren't going to do that.
Yeah,
wish. Of course they're not. I don't know though, man. Maybe
they're not taking.
Isn't the best quarterback in the city, but he does have at least a 50-50 track record.
At $70 million a year, Dak Prescott's like a C quarterback. I'm not taking Dak Prescott those $65-70 million a year.
And it's gonna take more than just one number one pick. I think you'd have to have multiple number one picks.
You have to get Tennessee to do that deal.
You'd have to give up two.
That's
or
a
three
lot of money to pay.
Picks.
I mean, because you're basically giving your whole franchise to Dak Prescott if you take over that contract.
Yeah. If you look at it though, let's look at the last 3 years. They drafted Malik Willis, he shit the bed. Yeah. They drafted Will Levis, he shit the bed. So at that point, do you just sign a quarterback or trade for one? Because I don't think I would trust the GM to draft another one. Like he was like, here's Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard. We're gonna win the division. Like,
With Tennessee being.
But all I'm saying is I'd get a quarterback, but I don't think I would pay Prescott that much money.
With Tennessee,
just because of his contract.
Yeah, but could Tennessee be interested in Darnold?
Maybe.
A guy like Darnold for 30, 40 million, whatever.
You think Darnold's interested in there though? You know what I mean?
I
I think Darnold knows I gotta go somewhere where that front five is gonna protect me.
Yeah, I was about to say, Darnold ain't trying to go back to the old school Jets. He's trying to stay up there with the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
Now that he had a taste of the good life.
For sure.
That's like me wanting to go back to my ex-wife now that I got creme de la creme.
I kind of think Darnold might end up with the New York Giants and Brian Dable.
I feel so bad for every Giants fan I know. I'd be devastated. It's like we just got rid of we got rid of Daniel Jones, and now here's Sam Darnold. I'd be sick to my stomach, bro.
Because where's the Giants drafting at? They're not going to be able to get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft this year.
The 4th.
Aren't they at 2?
Yeah, I think they're 2.
Are they 2?
I
thought
think
they fell back
because
Okay,
New
one
England
or
went
two
to
they
4.
Who's
Yeah, I
winning?
want to say they're 2. I think they are 2.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I thought they had fell back.
They could grab Cam.
Well,
I don't know
New
who would
England
go
fell
first. Ward or Sanders would probably. I don't know who's gonna go first. To be honest, I think it just depends on the Titans.
Do you
but-
think either one of them are really a number 1 or number 2 quarterback? Because I don't.
You know, I can't sit here and say I've watched a lot of Cam Ward, and there's a reason for that. You know, like the team's just kind of shit. But you know, it's like one of those things for me where I think where you go matters. You know, I think Shador could be disguised as an elite quarterback. I don't think by himself he could be an elite quarterback. That's just really how I feel. Like I've always felt like Travis Hunter's the better of the bunch. Maybe not in his relationship decisions, but definitely on the field he's pretty great. So I don't know. I think it's really up in the air. I like the kid. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The kid out of Texas I like a lot, and he just
Ewers?
Yeah, Ewers. I don't know if it's Ewers or Ewers. I don't know.
No, it's
But,
Ewers. The
yeah.
only thing I like about Ewers is I feel like he doesn't do a good enough job protecting the ball, and I think he holds on the ball too long.
Sure, but you know who
You
you're
know.
talking to. You're talking to the Caleb Williams guy, so I know all about
A lot of college, a lot of college quarterbacks and especially rookies in the NFL hold on the ball way too long. That's one thing
Well,
that's been
that's
so
true.
impressive about Jaden Daniels this year is he don't hold on the ball like that.
Yeah.
No. And again, I'm curious to see what Arch Manning does.
I mean,
now that he's
even
taken
Andrew
over the
Luck.
game.
That's one of the things that got Andrew Luck killed. Yeah, our Colts didn't get him an offensive line at all, but also he would hold on the ball forever trying to make a play down the field.
I'm right there with you. I got Andrew Luck 2.0 right now.
I wish we had Andrew Luck back. I'd take Andrew Luck right now. Hadn't played for 7 years. We'd take him right now, put him on the field.
Bring him in the front office. I think like that would be really cool to me if they were to bring him in the office. Maybe like you're not the GM obviously, but I know Peyton Manning was interested in being the GM of the Bears and just not too long ago. I don't know if he was serious about that, but maybe he goes to the Colts in a front office role.
Luck is the GM
that's
at Stanford now.
Yeah, that's that culture though. Like, you know, you talk about is like guys who understand it, guys who know. If Peyton Manning's decided he wanted like an executive role in the front office, I would say no. I would say yes in a heartbeat. If Walter Payton was alive today and said he wanted to coach the Chicago Bears, the other 30 of y'all get the fuck out of here. And for whatever reason, we posted on Facebook that we interviewed every single one of them. I don't know. It's pissing me off. It's crazy to me. Like this morning they posted that we interviewed Arthur Smith. And I was like, it's like posting that you just bopped the neighborhood hoe, and it's like, man, why would you even like? What are we doing? Like, why are we even posting that? There's no one.
What sucks
cares.
about Peyton Manning because he's my all-time favorite player, but like ever since he's retired, he claims the Broncos. More, I mean, he don't even really have nothing to do with the Colts, and I know why, and I understand why he does it, but as a guy, a Colts fan and a big Peyton Manning fan, it sucks because like, dude. We wouldn't have what we have here in Indianapolis if it wasn't for Peyton Manning. We wouldn't have Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, none of that stuff. But he basically claims Broncos. He don't even hardly like you see him at all the Broncos games. You very rarely ever see him around Indianapolis, other than he still has a children's hospital here and stuff that he does a lot with. But Colts wise, he don't do much with the Colts at all.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't either. Fuck him. You know, like, hey, respectfully, like, y'all liked Andrew Luck, right? Okay, cool. Like, watch me win this Super Bowl while this guy's in a neck brace. Like,
well, he was told they were going to keep him, and then right at the last second, Irsay went rogue and changed everything because Polian was supposed to be staying, Manning was going to stay, and then all of a sudden, Irsay just fired everybody and went with Luck.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I would never, and like, not to turn into a baseball thing, but I wouldn't expect Chris Bryant to ever like really come back to Chicago the way they did because of the way they treated him, you know, and like they manipulated his contract in the beginning and then didn't want to extend him. Like, I think guys take things to heart, and I would too, honestly. Like at the point, it takes nothing to be honest. You know what I mean? Like just be real about the situation. And like even with Justin Fields, like I'm sure Justin feels some type of way about what happened in Chicago. So I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him that at all. I mean, I agree. I mean, or even Gerard Mayo, man, getting canned after one season. I mean, come on, what are we doing?
Yeah,
Raiders coach too.
Yep, for sure. You hear Ben Johnson is favoring the Raiders. I like, get the fuck out of here. You're not favoring the Raiders, bro. It's just get that money up. You know, he wants everybody to pay a little bit more. That's what that is. But yeah, no, that's crazy.
Do you think the Bears would be the best fit for Ben Johnson? I know you want Ben Johnson, but do you think that for him, with his offensive mind, with a young quarterback, they do have some wide receivers? I don't know, that didn't go as well as they expected, but do you think that he would be a good fit for him? With all the teams out there, you think Chicago's the best fit for him?
I think Chicago is the best fit because he understands it. I think he understands the division, and I think it would be really easy for him to walk back into Detroit knowing exactly how he's going to whoop their ass. You know what I mean? And I think that's the best thing about it is you're remaining in the division. Now, I will say, I think Ben Johnson of the Detroit Lions will not be Ben Johnson of the Chicago Bears because he's not going to get away with a lot of the shit he's calling with this offensive line. And I think that's like where a lot of people are saying the Bears they interviewed him and they only talked about how are you going to be a leader? How are you going to be a leader of men and create a culture as a head coach? I wouldn't have cared. I don't care about any of it. How are you going to do the same thing you did there with this offensive line? Because you don't have Penei Sewell. You don't have all these other guys that are going to protect him and give you more than 2 seconds to be able to get a play across. Like Rome Odunze, I talked to you guys about Rome Odunze all summer long. I was so excited for him to be a big one-on-one, over-the-top guy who's going to beat the man-on-man, and then they have him running curl routes because you can't get the ball out in more than 2 seconds. And that's the thing where it's like, okay, with this line that you currently have, how are you going to be able to get the deep ball? How are you going to be able to get across the middle while not killing Caleb and breaking every single one of his ribs because he's over-exacerbating his fucking body trying to make a throw across the field? Like, that's hard for me.
They got to figure out the offensive line.
Yeah, because it's not – I mean, Ben's great. Don't get it twisted, but they'll run Ben out of town if they don't fix that line because it's going to be the same thing.
If they take Glenn as the coach, let's say they do that, is there another offensive coordinator out there that you think would be a fit?
No, not at all. Not one that would take the job. And that's really where I'm at with it because it's like you look at the offensive coordinator of the Ravens. Why would I have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson? Why? And one of the best offensive lines. You think I'm leaving to be the OC in Chicago? And when they're not even going to pay me more to do it because they're cheap? Like, none of these guys are going to go. I guess, like, kind of like we mentioned, like, hey, maybe a primetime or, you know, a John Gruden just wants to be in the league and they don't care about that head coaching title, then maybe. But at that point, like, it's just a Hail Mary.
Bring in Lincoln Riley as your offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I guess I could, but then again, like at the same time, like Lincoln Riley makes more money in college, so why is he even gonna come here? You know what I mean? And it's like if you're not the head coach, why are you coming? So I think that's where like a lot of guys just aren't gonna be here. That's why when we interviewed Cliff Kingsbury last year for the offensive coordinating job, this is a guy that worked with Caleb at USC. I was like, yeah, do it. Like, take it. And then obviously look what he did with Jaden Daniels, and we were stuck with Shane Waldron, which to me, the only reason they brought in Jay, I'm sorry if I'm too much bearing right now, but
no, you're good.
The only reason you brought in Shane Waldron, I swear to God, this is how I actually feel. Like a lot of people would be like, yo, you don't know ball, but this is what I think the Bears did. They were like, wow, Shane Waldron coached 3 wide receivers in JSN, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf. We have DJ, Keenan, and Rome. That'll work. And then they did it. And they didn't do any of their homework because even if you watch that one TikTok reel where I forget who was interviewing JSN during the Super Bowl and they were like, how do you feel about Shane Waldron? And he was like, yo, bro, is this live right now? Like, he's okay. Like, he's a good guy. If I ask you about a coach and all you could tell me is he's a good guy, he fucking sucks. Like, that's just what it is. Like, I don't care if he's a good guy. You know what I mean? John Gruden isn't a good guy, but he's a good coach. And, like, that's, well, maybe not a good coach. He's good at Barstool. But, yeah, if we bring
he does have a Super Bowl ring, though.
Well, so does Mike McCarthy. You know how
you're right. So does Mike McCarthy.
But I don't know, bro.
How did Gruden get Get that ring.
Hey, handed, bro. Gift wrapped in a bowl.
Dungy.
Let's not forget. Shout out Gruden. You still had to get there, but like, you didn't build that team whatsoever. But it is what it is. And I think it's kind of like, remember the Boston Celtics when they fired their head coach and this kid wins a fucking ring in his first year? I'm like, you didn't do any of this, bro. Like, what are we talking about?
It happens a lot. I was glad Dungy was able to get a ring because Tampa done him wrong getting rid of him when they did.
Mm-hmm.
But he came to Indy and was able to get a ring. I think they had so many chances they could have had a couple more.
Should have.
If the stuff didn't happen that one year with his son, I think the Colts was going to win it that year.
Yeah, I'll just never forget Devin Hester. Man, that was for 5 seconds. I was on 6-year-old me was on top of the world.
Yeah.
And
I was throwing shit at the wall.
Hey, I bet.
It was like 2 minutes.
And I bet the second quarter you were picking that shit back up. That's what I bet.
Wait a minute, you said 6-year-old you?
Yeah, I was 6, 7 years old.
So fucking
Jeez,
old.
man.
He's like
Tony, you forget Mike's a baby, man. He's just a young
Might be
kid.
24, 25.
24. Turning
Don't say
25.
same age as my son.
Yeah.
Hell, my underwear I'm wearing right now is older than Mike.
Yeah,
I'm
you might be my dad. I don't even know. You don't know.
When I first started doing shows with Mike, I thought he was older than what he was. He told me his age. I was like, damn, you're the same age as my
I
son.
would figure he's in his 30s.
Yeah, I wish I was in my 30s, but it would make sense why my back hurts all the time. But fine, forget about it. Oh,
man, at this point, Mike, I'm almost old enough to be Mike's granddad, man. Tony, you're a little older than me, so you definitely could be Mike's granddad.
Probably.
He has a grandson the same age.
I take that as a compliment.
Hey, well,
He has a
I
grandson,
have a
same age as
granddad,
Mike.
so if y'all want to send me a Christmas card every year, that's fine with me.
All right, Jay, we got anything else you want to hit on before we end it for today?
Man, I just gotta ask Mike one question, man. What do you think about Arch, man? What do you think about Arch taking over next year for Texas? Are we expecting good things out of him, you think?
I don't know. I saw him shit the bed in the couple of times that he did play this year. So like but again, like that's a very young kid coming in to the end of the game. You know what I mean? Not really having reps every week. So I think it's interesting. I kind of just want Arch to be Arch and leave the last name out of it, which is going to be really hard. Is now that he's going to be the starter more than likely. It's just a hard situation because it's like, you know, kind of like Shedeur. You know, everybody's just going to compare you to your dad. Now I think the lucky part of it is really just not to his dad, but you know what I mean, like to Eli and Peyton. But you know, I think the best part is Peyton or Eli aren't there, so he really just does get an opportunity to just be him. Whereas for Shedeur, every time you look on the sideline, there's Deion. You know what I mean? Deion wiggling his 2 toes. Like it's definitely interesting, like to see what he's gonna be able to be on his own. So I don't know. I think he's okay. I won't sit here and say like he's great. You know what I mean? Like I think
let's be honest. He got the NIL money because of his last name.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's fine. You know, I'm not taking it away. Like rep your last name if that's how you want to do it. But like I think the best thing for him would be just go out there and ball, you know, and I don't think he'll have a problem with that. Like Bronny James, I never felt like was trying to be him. You know what I mean? Bronny James was just put there because his dad wanted him to be there. I'm sure he wanted to be there as well, but you know what I mean? Like with Arch, you can kind of see a kid that actually wants to learn, actually wants to go out and be that guy.
Because like most kids would have transferred somewhere else. So most kids like him that has that last name,
want to be a freshman starter.
They would have set for 2 years. They would have transferred somewhere else where he could have played and tried to prove that he was this big star. Where he set the last couple of years and ain't caused no problems. You ain't heard him. I mean,
he didn't even want to be in the video game. I don't think for the college football game. Like he said he didn't want to be in it. Like, and that's you know, everybody was excited to go play with him, and it's like it speaks to who he is. And I can't speak to him personally, but from what I've seen so far, I like him.
I like how Peyton, like you had said too, Peyton and Eli they've kept their distance away from it. Even Grandpa Archie has kept his, like they've kept their distance away. They're not always out in the public talking about him. I mean, they're letting him kind of try to live his own life and do it himself. They know he has the last name, but they're not just trying to force it out there on everybody.
Now I'm sure they will force it a lot more, like broadcasting wise, over the next couple of years.
Oh
but,
yeah.
You know, when he's a future Colt and it's all full circle, I think it'll be worth it for you guys. That's what I like. I was talking to Tony earlier and kind of just like, you know, we were breaking that down, and like I agreed with Tony Hollinsworth inside the Hoosier mind. You know, he was kind of talking about, hey, maybe we just tank for another year. Like you could see how it's benefited, you know, the Cleveland Browns, who lose every single game, and it's kind of like, man, you're stuck with Deshaun. Now they got a top 4 pick. Man, maybe you're not stuck with Deshaun. You know what I mean? Maybe now you go get a quarterback. So I think you guys are more than willing to sacrifice a year. Shit, the Bears sacrificed 2, and we still might have fucked it up though. So you know.
We were just talking about this last night with my cousin Steve. Was that we could lose next year, get Arch, make a trade with Arizona, bring in Harrison Jr. And let's roll.
Hey, that's tough.
It'll be the old days again.
We got Taylor running back. If he can remember to hang on the ball into the fucking end zone.
Come on. I like it though. You bring the Harrison and Peyton duo back, and then you obviously, you know, I really do like Pittman too. I think Pittman's nice in that role where Marvin would be the number 1, and I think that's I think you kind of need in a respectful way, I think you need a better route runner, because I think both of them are just a couple of big bodies that just run the deep ball. But hey, you fuck around throwing a Keenan Allen? I doubt it though. Let me tell you, before we go, let me tell you something about my experience with Keenan Allen. That boy was wearing a scarf and a ski mask with gloves by September. He going back to LA. He's not staying. He was not fucking with it at all. That man was bundled up every game. He was cold, bro. He was not rocking with it.
Hey, if you don't live out in this cold weather, it hits you different.
Yeah,
man, you know what's funny? I actually played ping pong with Keenan Allen when I was over in Germany. He came over to the USO, and him and another one of the he was with the Chargers at the time. And yeah, man, I played ping. I got a picture of him. I'll have to send you a picture of him, Mike.
Sure.
But yeah, he's a nice guy, super nice.
No, yeah, super nice.
But I get what you're saying.
Not rocking with the cold. Not rocking with the cold.
He ain't rocking that cold. Hey, Mike, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us, man. You know, anytime you want to come on this show, you're always welcome, man.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you. I missed you guys, man. And I don't know where Frankie is right now. He's probably beating it off.
Oh, Frankie forgot to pay his internet bill, so
he did forgot to pay. Yeah, forgot to pay Juan Soto too. He's got a lot going on right now.
Frankie's personal business, but fuck it.
Hey, it is what it is. But all right, I'll catch y'all later. All right.
Yep.
All right, later, Mike.
Be good, brother.
Wow. All right. Well, you have anything else before we go?
No, I'm good to go.
Hey, just make sure if you guys like this content, if you had a good time hanging out with me, Tony, Gonzo, and Mike, come on and hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us, and it'll help us get more content out to you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to our shows on YouTube, on Gonzo's YouTube and ESEN's YouTube, please.
I do have one more thing, Jay.
Yep.
Did you book your trip to Costa Rica yet?
No. Have you got your $1 million yet? Because
hey. Also, guys, because he didn't plug himself, look up the Chi-Town Kid too.
The Chi Kid, yeah.
Chi Kid. He does a lot of content. You can find it outstanding. He's really good.
Oh yeah, Mike's a good dude, and he does put out a lot of good stuff. So yeah, check him out as well. But we appreciate everybody watching. Like Jay said, hit that subscribe, like, share, comment, all the buttons on ESEN at Gonzo Sports Room. And we'll see you guys tomorrow right around 2:00.